They never announced a reunion date, and that silence confused many people, but what fans slowly understood is that EXO was never trying to disappear. They were trying not to lie. After military service, when most groups shout promises and timelines, EXO chose restraint. No dramatic statements, no emotional guarantees, no countdowns. Just careful words, pauses, and eyes that avoided giving false hope. Some called it cold, some said they lost passion. But the truth is heavier than that. EXO didn't want EXO-Ls to wait for something that might be delayed by reality again. They chose honesty over hype, and in an industry built on selling dreams, that choice itself became controversial. While people demanded answers, EXO stayed quiet, not because they didn't care, but because they cared too much. During this time, Baekhyun stood on stages alone, under bright lights, selling out venues as a solo artist, yet somehow EXO followed him everywhere like a shadow he never tried to escape. Even when he didn't need to, he mentioned the group. Even when it would have been easier to focus only on himself, he didn't. Staff quietly shared that his EXO group chat notifications never turned off, that he checked messages between rehearsals, between flights, between exhaustion. He learned how easily EXO's name could become clickbait pain, so he protected it by not turning nostalgia into a weapon. People accused him of using EXO's name for attention, but those who listened closely realized he mentioned EXO the way someone mentions home, not for applause, but because it exists inside them. Then there was Kyungsoo, whose silence became the loudest misunderstanding of all. Fans whispered that he had moved on, that acting mattered more now, that idol life was behind him. But he never said that. He never corrected interviewers who still called him an EXO member. He never referred to EXO in the past tense. He simply stopped explaining himself. In a world that demands constant clarification, Kyungsoo chose boundaries. His distance was never emotional, it was protective. He didn't abandon EXO, he refused to let the industry define what staying meant. Chanyeol returned from the military without the storyline people expected. No redemption arc carefully packaged for sympathy, no tearful interviews, no public attempts to rewrite history. Just music, guitars, lyrics, and quiet smiles that didn't beg forgiveness. Many thought it was a mistake. Popularity dipped, engagement shifted, criticism lingered. But over time, something changed. Respect replaced noise. Chanyeol chose growth over validation, and that decision hurt in the short term but healed something deeper. Sehyun changed too, in ways that fans noticed without being able to fully explain. His posture straightened, his jokes faded, his words shortened. The maknae who once leaned on his members now stood as if he was preparing to hold something heavy. He stopped joking about being the youngest, not because he lost innocence, but because responsibility arrived quietly. He became someone who understood that leadership doesn't always speak. Sometimes it simply stays. Then came the CBX situation, a chapter fans still struggle to talk about without dividing into sides. What hurt most wasn't the legal tension, but the silence that followed. During the most painful moments, CBX avoided mentioning EXO altogether. Some interpreted that as separation, even betrayal. But the untold truth is harsher and more loyal than that. They stayed silent to protect EXO, to prevent fans from feeling forced to choose, to keep the group's image from becoming collateral damage in a personal fight. They carried their pain privately so EXO wouldn't fracture publicly. That kind of loyalty doesn't trend. It doesn't go viral, but it scars deeply. Meanwhile, EXO-Ls themselves changed in ways no one predicted. The fandom that once fought loudly became quiet observers. Demands turned into patience. Hashtags turned into waiting. EXO-Ls stopped asking when, and started understanding why. In that silence, they became the hidden member, shaping EXO's pace by refusing to pressure them. On anniversaries, EXO acknowledged their history softly, posting old photos without captions, memories without explanations. They never said the word incomplete, but they never pretended loss didn't exist either. They carried it without replacement, without pretending voices could be swapped or erased. Younger idols still reference EXO as the standard, producers still study their harmonies, and yet EXO doesn't respond. They don't chase validation because they already became what the industry measures itself against. Their story didn't end, but it didn't restart either. It paused, not in defeat, but in dignity. And that pause is what makes people uncomfortable. Because EXO's most controversial move was refusing to perform survival. They chose to exist honestly, even if it meant being misunderstood. Off camera, away from noise, they survived the industry without losing themselves, and that may be the most emotional and dangerous story of all.
EXO は沈黙した。その沈黙の意味を誰も完全には理解していない。軍隊を終えた後、 派手な復帰や大きな約束はなかった。ファンは焦り、メディアは騒ぎ、噂が広がった。しかし、EXOは何も語らず、ただ存在していた。それは無関心ではなく、誠実さだった。彼らは虚偽の希望を与えず、真実だけを守るために静かに待ったのだ。バクヒョンはステージの上で輝き続けたが、心の奥では常にEXOを感じていた。彼の目線、言葉、行動の端々にグループへの思いが滲んでいた。誰も見ていないところで、グループチャットの通知を切らず、メンバーの小さな一言を逃がさず受け止めた。その姿は、表面的な輝きとは別の深い忠誠の証だった。ドヨンは黙して語らず、その距離が誤解を生んだ。ファンは彼が過去を捨てたと思ったが、実際にはEXOを守るために沈黙を選んだのだ。説明を拒むこと、それは守ることの一つの形だった。チャニョルは復帰後、世間が期待した涙や弁解を見せなかった。ステージに立ち、音楽とギターと歌詞で自分の気持ちを伝えた。誰も気づかない痛みを抱えながらも彼は成長と尊厳を選んだ。その選択は一瞬の人気を犠牲にしたが、心に響く真実を残した。セフンは、かつての末っ子から責任を背負う若者へと変わった。言葉は少なくなり、表情は静かに力強くなった。彼の成長は、笑顔やジョークで表現されるものではなく、行動と背中で示されるものだった。CBX の葛藤も、誰も知らないところでEXOを守る行為だった。苦しい状況の中、メンバーを傷つけないために沈黙を貫いた。それは痛みと忠誠が同居する選択であり、ファンが知ることのない深い愛情の証だった。EXO-Lも変わった。かつてのように声高に要求するのではなく、静かに待つことを学んだ。沈黙と忍耐の中で、EXOとファンの絆はさらに強くなった。グループは、失ったものを隠すのではなく、静かに受け入れ、尊重し、そして進む。誰も完璧には語れない、誰も完全には理解できない。それでも、EXOは存在し続け、私たちに真実を見せてくれる。それは声高に叫ぶものではなく、沈黙の中にある。彼らの物語は終わらない。過去と現在、未来が一つに交わる場所で、EXOは静かに輝き続ける。そして私たちファンもまた、その沈黙を感じ、涙し、笑い、共に歩んでいく。EXOが教えてくれるのは、華やかさではなく、誠実さであり、忍耐であり、そして愛だ。画面の向こうで彼らは言わない。しかし、心で伝わる。EXOは沈黙しているのではない。EXOは愛を語り続けているのだ。